Hey YouTube, it's Dimitri, and today we're going to do a quick video on downloading R in RStudio. R itself is a very useful tool within itself. It is used a lot for different analytics in the tech industry, in the health industry, in the finance industry, and in academia. So it is used almost everywhere. It's very easy to use and it's free. So today we're going to show you how to do a quick download. All right, so if you open your web browser, you can just Google or search for install R. If not, the website itself is www.r-project.org. And once the website comes up, you can see up here, it just says download in CRAN. If you just click CRAN, it will take you to where you can download the file. Here lists out a variety of different countries. This is just where the servers are located. So if the server is closer to you, it'll be faster and easier to download. So we're gonna scroll down here and select the US as I'm in the United States. And you'll see there are a list of areas you can install it from. These are all the same. It doesn't matter where you actually install it from. I'm gonna actually use the UC Berkeley one. I'm gonna use the top one here. And so next you just click on the link here to the Berkeley download. This page in general looks a little bit confusing, but if you look up at the top here, you're gonna select the download for your operating system. If you're running Linux, click the top link. If you're doing Mac OS, you can select that one. And then if you're using Windows, such as myself, we'll do Windows. So click the Windows link, and then it should take you to this page. And again, there's a bunch of writing and stuff, but if you see on the top right here, it says install R for the first time. This is a brand new computer for me. I'm assuming you're installing it for the first time. So click that link and this should take you to this other page. And again, there's lots of writing, lots of different links on the page to help you kind of figure out how to do things. But we're gonna select here at the top where it says download R 3.5.0 for Windows, and then the download itself should start running. Now you can see down here on the bottom of Google Chrome, it has the download of R 3.5.0-win.exe. Once this is done, we'll click on it to open it. You can also click the little arrow next to the download in Chrome and hit open when finished. If you're using another browser such as Safari or Edge, it should be a similar process where you should see the file is being downloaded. If it asks you whether you want to run or save the file, click the run button. And now that our download's complete here, we're gonna click on the file. And Windows is going to ask you if you'd like to allow permission to do this, which for some reason doesn't record on my screen recorder. Just select yes, we'd like to allow this app to make changes. Next, this window will pop up asking which language you'd like to use. Select the language best for you. Today I'm going to select English. And then this is the general terms and conditions essentially. Just select next. And then this is going to tell you exactly where the download's going to go. In our case here, it's going to be a program file under the C drive. So just hit next again. And then in this section here, it's going to give you a variety of options. If you select the drop-down menu, you can actually select 32-bit, 64-bit, or user installation, or you can do a custom one. I'm going to do user installation today, which will download both the 32 and the 64-bit version. I'm not exactly sure why you would need both of them. I know some software might not actually be compatible with both 32 and 64-bit. So that being said, I'm gonna do the user installation. If you would like, you can actually just do the version that fits your computer. If you're using Windows 10 and you don't know which version you have, whether 32-bit or 64-bit operating system, you can type in system information and then go to this pane here on the right-hand side where it says system type. And mine says 64, so since it's x64, that means it's a 64-bit operating system, and you can download either the 32 or the 64-bit. If yours says 32, so it's a 32-bit operating system, you can only run the 32-bit operating system and have it work efficiently. So you can then click that. So again, in our case here, I'm just gonna do the user installation and then click next. Next is gonna ask you if you'd like to customize your startup options here. I'm going to hit no and just do the default because that's easiest. And then we'll hit next. Next is gonna ask you where you would like to actually set up the folders and the files. Again, I recommend just doing the default settings. I'm just leaving it as R as the name and then click next again. And then in this window, it's gonna ask you what you would like to do in additional settings here. So create a desktop icon I have selected. I like having it on my desktop. It's easy to find, it's easy to use. You can also create a quick launch shortcut. I'm not going to do that. And then the registry entries here, you can save the version number in the registry and associate R with R data files. As a registry number, I'm not too confident what that is, but just leave that checked. And then the next one is going to be essentially if you open any file that's .r data, so it's a data file that is created in R, you will use R to open it. Later on, we'll end up tying this in to RStudio, and to do that, we'll have it open in there. But for now, just leave the box checked and hit next. All right, and now that you've hit next, you'll see that it's actually doing the installation. This should only take about a minute or so. And then the installation is finished, so just click the finish button. And if we minimize this screen, you'll see that we have both R64-bit installed, as I selected, and R32. There should be no difference between R64 and 32. It just has to do with the operating system and efficiently using resources. But if we open up R64 here, you'll see that the user interface here, in my opinion, is absolutely terrible. It's hard to use. It looks really dated. There's not a lot of features built into it. And we're going to go into this later, but one of the biggest issues I have is that it doesn't save your plots. So you have to retype or re-copy and paste your plotting command over and over. So here I'm just going to create a variable called x. It's going to consist of 1, 2, 3, 4. And then when we type x, it'll print out exactly, 1, 2, 3, 4, which resides in this x variable. Don't worry about that now. I'm just showing you that it works here. We're going to go over and install RStudio. It's considered an IDE, which is an integrated development environment. There's a lot of features inside of it that just make programming easier to do. It still uses the R language, so we still need to install R like we just did. And now we're going to go over and install RStudio. You can go into your web browser and search RStudio. The website itself should be rstudio.com. And then once you get here, if you go up to the top where it says products, a drop-down menu will come down from the products tab, and you can hit RStudio itself. And then we're going to scroll down. There are two versions of R. There's RStudio for desktop and RStudio for servers. There are also multiple versions for each category. There is a commercial version, which you pay money for. And there's a free version, which you can use for like academics and personal research. And today we're going to download the open source edition, which is the free version for your desktop. So if you scroll down here and select download RStudio, this will actually just take you further down in the page here, and you can select the download button here under the RStudio desktop, which is free. There are pros and cons of installing, the commercial license and doing the pro version versus the Pro Plus version here. But we're going to skip all this and just click the download that's best for us, which is the free desktop version. This will again take you down further, and it will give you zip files below. You can do zip files if you want. It'll make the file much smaller, but personally I just like to go in and click the exe file and just run the file install as it is. So there are a variety of downloads here. Just select the one that's best for your operating system. We have Windows, so we're going to click the Windows version. If you have the Mac OS X version, you can click the Mac version. Again, you'll see the download happening on the bottom of your screen here. Again, I'm in Google Chrome. Once it finishes, you can click on the file again, or the little bar down there, and it will open up the installation guide. It will ask you if you'd like this app to make changes to your computer. Again, click yes. And then it's going to ask you to do the startup wizard. Just click next. Again, this is showing you where it's going to install the program and the files. Hit next again. This is going to ask you which start menu folder you'd like to put it in. Just leave it as RStudio, hit next again, and then the installation should occur. Again, this should only take you a few minutes to install. And now that it's done, just hit finish. I'm going to minimize the screen here and close out of this old R program so you can see RStudio. RStudio again isn't on the desktop, but if you click the start menu, you will see that recently installed has RStudio. I'm just going to click this and drag it to the desktop so I have it on my desktop for easy access. Once you open this up, you should notice it looks similar, but the right hand side of the page is a lot nicer. And again, we're going to create two variables here. We're going to create an X variable. We're going to create a Y variable. We're going to merge these together to create a data frame. And then I'm going to show you exactly how to plot these. If you look though up on the top right when I create X here, it shows you the variable. So this is one thing I like about RStudio. It shows you your lists, your values, your data frames, like everything will be stored up here in this right-hand corner under the global environment or the environment tab. This is really helpful because you can see what does exist and does not exist. So you can check that when you're programming to see if you need to create something or not. You can import files in here as well. It does SAS, SPSS. You can do CSV files and everything else, but it's quite handy. And then this little broom here will actually just delete everything in the environment. So if you just want to start over from scratch, or you're not sure if there's an error or bug in your code, you can just click that and it will delete everything. So now that I've created the Y variable, again, you can see that popping up in the global environment. And then once you create this data frame, I'm just going to merge these two lists together to create a data set with two columns. It's going to pop up in the global environment in the top. It has data test, which is what I named it. If you double click on it, you can actually open it and view it. I really like this feature because you can actually see the data frame itself. You can see the columns. This looks a lot like, Excel or a CSV file. It looks the same as like working in SAS, for example. And then we're gonna plot these real quick just to show you kind of the plotting feature. R can do amazing plots and do all kinds of crazy things. But just to show you an example here, when you actually plot something out, so if we plot the X variable and then the Y variable, you'll create this chart on the bottom right-hand side. When you do this in R, it normally generates the plot if you're not using RStudio. And then if you go to create a second chart, so if we replot the same thing, but instead of X and Y, we're gonna do Y and X, it will actually get rid of the first chart and only show you the second chart. This is very, very frustrating, at least from my perspective, because a lot of times you need to plot multiple things, and to do this, it's annoying to have to replot and then save. But in RStudio, it saves them all here, so you can see that by hitting the back arrow, you can actually look at your old plots. Something else to note about this bottom window here is that there's a packages tab. In R, everything comes in packages. These are just groups of functions that you can use to do different tasks and statistical analysis. So you need different packages to do different things. If you just check the box here on the right, it'll automatically generate the code on the left, import the package, and life is good. It gives you a long list here of packages that are most commonly used. I'm not going to cover it in this video, but you can install other packages by going through their website or just typing install into the window here on the left. I'm going to also note here that there is a file tab. The file tab can be used to navigate around to see the files that you have saved on your computer. There's also a help tab, which I'm not going to go into in this video, but it's useful to figure out how to use a function or try to debug things because maybe you're missing something specific about the function. And one more piece of information here is you can type everything in this bottom left pane and it will run, but you cannot save it, so you have to create an R file. So on the top here, you'll see a little white sheet with a plus. That's a new file. Click that and then hit R script. This is a new one. In here, you can type all of your code and you can save it. It's kind of like a workbook or a notebook. And then when you actually want to run or execute that code, you can copy and paste it from the top window here down into the bottom window, which is the console itself. So I'm just going to copy in the clean version of my code. So I'm going to copy in creating the X, creating the Y, merging the data set, and then the actual two plots that we created. And then if you want to save this file, click File, click Save. It'll take you to automatically to like your documents. I put it in the R folder. And in this case, we're going to call it R install test. You hit save and it'll save the file. Another important feature in R in general is when you click exit, it's going to ask if you want to save the workspace. A lot of times you're working on a big project and you're going to be using the same data, the same code, but you're going to be adding to it. By saving the workspace, when you come back, it will reload everything that you were using before, which can save you a lot of time and hassle in general. But overall, that's it. That's a quick install of RStudio. You do need to install R first. There are going to be a series of videos here that are going to cover RStudio, learning to use it, learning the features a little bit more. I know this is a popular language, so I'm going to try to do as many videos as possible, given all the different resource constraints I have. But anyways, if you like this video and you want to learn more about R and how to use it, hit the subscribe button below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, until next time.